So we're in a good place at the moment. We're beginning to get to the data that we want. In fact, we're very, very close to it. If, for example, knowing that it's an array, it's not going to print the elements of the array out. If I actually say, okay, instead of just trying to print the entire array out, which it won't, if I print out the first index, we can see what happens there. So if I reload the page, there we go. So now I'm getting information back from the results. Okay, so if I change that to 1, that's going to give me back the first names. There we go. I think it's time that we actually took that connected successfully out. We know we're connected successfully, so I don't think we need that line of code anymore. So I'm going to remove that just to tidy up the results that we see on the screen. There we go, that's better. So we know we're getting array element out. Now there were 4 fields, and they're going to range from 0, 1, 2 and 3. There should be no 4th field, so if I did that I'm expecting to get some sort of error. There we go. So undefined offset, in other words we haven't got a 5th field. That's working nicely. So let me just explain a little bit about this. What's happening with this while loop is this. Every time through the while loop it's going to see if there is a row in result. If there is, row is sort of going to be true, and it's going to keep going round. There are still rows to execute. However, should we get to the very last one, like the 5th record, which wouldn't exist, it's going to say, oh, fail. And that's the end of your while loop. Drop out and continue with the rest of your program. So this is the way that the while loop is being controlled. So row is sort of, is there something in there? Is it true? Is it false? If there is another row to fetch, in each time it's counting up. Probably in Python you've been adding 1 to something to keep going until it's reached a certain value. This is a different sort of method. The one is sort of being added on automatically, and it's just checking if there is another item, move on, get the next item. Is it there? If it is, move on. Is it there? Is it? Move on. If it's not there, drop out. So that's a new way of running through a while loop for you. And again, the row in itself is an array, which we saw earlier. It gave us an error when we tried to print it. However, if we index it and find the element at that place, at that index in the array, it will print out some values. So let's see them, because we can't just keep changing the 0 and the 1 in there. And actually, when we did, let's try index 1, when we did that and run it, it gave us the first name. And as I mentioned before, this is an associative array, so I could actually replace the 1 there with first name, the field name. Okay, and it should do exactly the same thing. So if I reload this, it should give me the first names. Okay, absolutely no different. It's going to make it a little bit easier in your code to read using the associative nature of the array rather than a number index. So what we can do quickly to see all the items in each row as we go through, if I just copy this line and paste it in a few times, we've got 4 items. So the first one, the first field that we have is ID. The second field is first name. Then we've got last name, and then we've got age. Okay. So if I save and run that query, and rather have a break, I think what I'm going to do is put a space in. so they're all on one line, and just have a break on the final one so that any further objects appear on the following line. So if I just reload this, there we go, now I've got all the records coming back from the database. Okay, 1 Joe Bloggs 20, 2 Jane Smith, and in a nice order as well. I didn't need to use these. I could have just a 0, 1, 2, 3, but I think it makes a bit more sense if you use the associative nature and use the field names. Okay, there you go, proving it's exactly the same thing. So let me just get back to where I was. Right, now that we've got the data out, we're going to do something with the data, so that will be in the next video.